Everyone, so today we are going to learn about the teaching learning process. So what is teaching? It is an active process in which one person share information with others to provide them with the information to make the positive behavioral changes. Then the learning is the process of assimilation of information with a resultant change in the behavior. So what is the difference between teaching and learning? In the teaching process, the teacher provides information to the learner through which the learner can make the positive behavioral changes. In the learning process, the learner accept the information and they can change in their behavior, which will be always positive. Next, teaching learning process. The teaching learning process is a planned interaction that promotes behavioral change that is not result of maturation and coincidence. So it's a planned process through which the learner can promote positive behavioral changes, which is not result of maturation and coincidence. Then the elements of teaching and learning. Teacher is considered as the main elements that has the main role in teaching learning process. He or she is considered as so-called prime mover of the educational process. Thus, he or she direct the flow of the whole process and serve as a main control of teaching learning process. The teacher is the main source or is the main mover of the process. He control the process and he also make it sure that the process will go in a forward way. Then the learners are considered as the key participants. So always remember, learners are the participant. In the teaching learning process, they are considered as the primary subject or the main reason why the process is implemented. For the learner only, the process is implemented. So they are the main reason why the teaching learning process is implemented. Then the learning environment. Since learning is triggered by the stimuli of the environment, it assumes the primary importance in teaching and learning. The classroom is the usual, although not exclusive, environment of learning at school. Teacher need to make the learning environment as stimulating as possible. The learning environment is very important in teaching learning process. If the environment is not according to the learner, it's not according to the teacher, the teaching learning process will not take place in a positive way. Every stimulus in the classroom should be contribute to learning. Very much part of this environment in human stimuli, the most important of whom is the teacher himself. Then the content of learning. This refers to what is to be learned as specified in the instructional objective. The teacher should make it sure that the minimum standard or level of proficiency is attained by the class before moving into the next lesson or unit. The curriculum makes are advised to be realistic in projecting subject matter and avoid giving the student too much too soon and to teach only little matter but well mastered. So the curriculum need to be developed very precisely and very systematically. Then the teaching learning strategy. This consists of purposeful planned activity and tasks that are undertaken by the teacher and the student in the classroom to bring about the intended instructional objective. So this teaching learning strategy, these are some of the strategies, some of the activities, and it will be always planned. So to achieve the institutional objective, these are the steps, or these are, you can say, these are the plan to achieve the institutional objective. The learner must also show efficiency in handling the activity, going through it without hassle. Then the communication in teaching learning. This pertain to the communication system in teaching learning situation. This serve dual purpose to promote common understanding in instruction and to set the maintain a healthy psychological climate in the classroom conducive to the learner. The method of communication in the classroom or maybe in the outside the classroom, but we have to maintain a good communication process while taking place the teaching learning process. Then arousing and sustaining the interest in learner. This is also called as motivation. So motivation is always a very important point in teaching learning process. The learner will learn only those things he want to learn, so we have to always motivate the learner so that he can achieve the required things to change his behavior in a positive way. Then the mastery. So the be all and end all of learning. This means internalization of learning resulting in automatic and habitual change behavior through meaningful repetition and application. So the teacher have to have good and enough knowledge about the subject so that he or she can his or her knowledge to the learner, so that the learner can also develop the concept of the particular things, and he can have the mastery of the particular subject. Then the psychological security. For learner to take place, participation of the learner is very essential. The learner would not participate freely unless he feels secure. The teacher can't teach the child by threats. The learner must be given stimulating environment. Only in this environment the pupils are encouraged to try and therefore more likely to learn. The psychological security is very important in teaching learning process, because if the learner will not feel secure in the particular teaching learning environment, he will not be able to acquire the required knowledge. Then the feedback. A student learns more rapidly and more thoroughly because he is forced to concentrate on material before him, and because he gets immediate feedback on his progress. It is not uncommon that after solving a problem, the child is interested to know whether his solution is correct or not. So we need to always provide feedback to the learner, and learner also they need to provide feedback to the teacher, because it's a process, and process always it completes with a feedback. Then the practice makes man perfect. The proverb implies the importance of repetition in bringing certain habits up to the point where they come naturally to him. The factor of practice is particularly true of skill learning. So the more you learn, the more you practice, the more you learn. It's a proverb. Practice makes a man perfect. So until and unless the learner will practice the certain things repeatedly, he or she will not be able to learn it properly. So practice is always an important factor in teaching learning process. Then belonging and configuration. Repetition, practice or drill, whatever we may call it, will not result in learning. Only after restructuring the learner can integrate and organize the experience in certain required relation. Thus, belonging and configuration make the teaching learning process more effective.